Hey ladies, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to do the pavement method to establish a perspective diagram. So this is your picture plane right here, that flat surface that your artist self works on. Go ahead and take your pencil, and somewhere in the center draw yourself a vanishing point. Try to get it as centered as possible, but if it's not perfect, it's okay. Now take your ruler, and from each corner of your picture plane, draw some orthogonal lines to the vanishing point. Now this whole area right here is what's known as the ground plane. So if we're looking down a long hallway, imagine that this is the floor that you're standing on. I'm just highlighting it to mark off where the ground plane is so we don't get confused. Now to get this tile floor started out, we need to figure out where our orthogonal lines are going to come from. So along the ground line, I'm just going to separate it into 1-inch segments here. Just putting some little tick marks to know where to start my orthogonal lines. Once you've got those tick marks established, go ahead and draw orthogonal lines from each of them to the vanishing point. This is where having a clear ruler really comes in handy because you can see your work underneath the ruler. Now the next thing that we need to do is figure out where our transversal lines start. These are the lines that go horizontally across your tile. Go ahead and along the edge, right above where the left ground plane stops, where that highlighter is, go ahead and put a 1-inch tick mark right above the end of the ground plane. And then just bring another orthogonal line from that tick mark over to the vanishing point. And just for the sake of us remembering that we're looking down a hallway, I'm just going to throw a door in over here. You don't have to do this, but this is just for the sake of remembering that we are looking down a hallway. Now to continue on with finding our transversal lines, we have this extra orthogonal off on the left side. I'm going to put another vertical line. Remember, try to use your ruler to get as vertical as possible. I'm just going to put one about 2 inches or so from where the bottom of the ground line is. Once you have that established, take your ruler, and inside this little trapezoid guy that we just made, go ahead and draw an X. So you're going to have one diagonal line between each of the corners, just like so. Now at the intersection of this X that we just made, this little point right here, go ahead and draw another orthogonal line from that intersection to the vanishing point. Once you found that, take your ruler, and again at that intersection where the X crosses itself, do your best to get a nice vertical line going through that X. So we have found our first set of transversal lines, the bottoms of these vertical lines that we just made. If you get your ruler as horizontal as you possibly can, you can use the tick marks on the ruler to help line you up. Go to where that first vertical line meets the ground plane, and just bring it on over. That's your first row of tiles. You can do the same thing with the bottom of this vertical line. Get it as horizontal as you possibly can. And just bring it on over. Good. Now to find our next transversal lines through subdivision, go ahead and from the bottom of this vertical line, cross through this little intersection right here with your ruler. I'm just making, in a sense, another little X inside of here. So cross that through. And then from the top of that vertical line, again, cross through that intersection. So we've just made these two lines. Go ahead, get your ruler, try to get as vertical as possible, and then just put a vertical line in between those two. So now you've got a new vertical. And from here, this is our next transversal marker. Take your ruler, get it horizontal. From that point, cross on over. You've got 3 rows of tiles now. Now for finding the rest of our transversals, just repeat this process. From the top of that vertical line, cross through that intersection, and from the bottom of that vertical line, cross through that intersection again. Once you've got those 2 lines that you just made, take your ruler, get it vertical, and put a line between them. That's your next transversal marker. Take your ruler, get it horizontal, and from the bottom of that vertical line that we just made, cut across the floor. So just keep on repeating this process, going through those intersections until you have your desired number of rows of tiles. If your hallway goes on forever and ever, you'll do this all the way to the vanishing point. So I'm happy with the numbers of tiles that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and establish where the back wall of this room should be. So I'm going to just take my ruler. From where my tiles stopped, I am going to draw a vertical line for one side of the wall. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, trying to keep those lines parallel. And then the ceiling area, going to draw a nice horizontal line parallel to the floor. Once you've done this, you can take an eraser and erase up those extra orthogonal lines that are on the wall. You don't need those anymore, but keep your vanishing point, because we'll still use that. So now we've got a basic room with a tile floor. You can color in the tiles if you like to be a checkerboard, or you can leave them like this. Even if your room does not have a tile floor, having this grid can help you just place objects and figuring out where things overlap, how big things should be, figuring out scale.